Imagine walking across a quiet field with soft dirt beneath your feet and a gentle wind moving through the air. Nothing looks unusual. Nothing hints at anything strange. But beneath the surface, hidden deep underground, an entire army sleeps in silence. Thousands of soldiers made of clay. Soldiers who never breathed, never spoke, and never moved, yet were created with such detail and care that they look almost alive. This is the Terracotta Army. More than 2,000 years ago, long before cars, electricity, or modern cities, a powerful emperor ruled China. His name was Qin Shi Huang. He was the first person to bring together many different lands and create one united country. He built roads, changed laws, and dreamed of a world that would last forever. But even great emperors fear the unknown. Even he wondered what would happen after life ended. So he made a decision that would shape history. He ordered the creation of an army made not of flesh and blood, but of clay. An army that would never grow tired, never disobey, and never age. An army that would stand beside him after his life on earth was over, guarding him in the world he believed waited beyond death. Thousands of workers spent years shaping each soldier by hand. No two soldiers were the same. Some looked tall and strong, some looked young, some looked old. There were generals, archers, officers, and foot soldiers. There were horses made of clay, ready to pull chariots across an invisible battlefield. All of them stood in long rows, facing the same direction, waiting for a command that would never come. Then the army was buried, chambers were sealed, rooms were hidden. The emperor was placed in a massive underground tomb, surrounded by this silent force, and the world above slowly forgot what rested beneath its soil. For more than 2,000 years, nobody knew the army was there. The soldiers waited in darkness, holding their positions through storms, earthquakes, wars, and centuries of change. They waited for a long time until one day, a farmer digging a well struck something hard. He thought it was a strange stone. It was not. It was a clay head, a piece of a soldier, a part of a forgotten world rising back into the light. What the farmer uncovered was not just a statue. He uncovered a story, a secret, a message from the past. And that message is still speaking today. To understand why this army was made, you must walk back into a time of emperors, ancient beliefs, great ambition, and the dream of living forever. Long ago, China was not one country. It was many small kingdoms, each with its own rulers, armies, languages, and ways of life. These kingdoms sometimes worked together, but many times they fought. The land was divided, and people lived in fear of battles they did not choose. But then a young ruler named Qin rose to power, and everything began to change. Qin was determined, clever, and incredibly ambitious. He believed that all the kingdoms should become one. He wanted one set of rules, one system of writing, one set of roads, and one strong leader. That leader would be him. Through strategy, force, and determination, he united all the kingdoms and became the first emperor of China. His new name became Qin Shi Huang, which meant the first emperor. Under his rule, roads were built across the land, connecting cities that had never been linked before. Coins were made the same shape and size, so trade became easier. Weights and measurements were made standard, so people could understand each other. Even the written language was made uniform, so the country could share ideas smoothly. The emperor believed these changes would make China strong, stable, and everlasting. But Qin Shi Huang was not only a builder of roads and rules. He was also a man with fears, dreams, and questions about life and death. He believed that when a person died, their spirit continued into another world. In that world, he would need protection. He would need soldiers. He would need an army, just as he needed one while he was alive. The emperor did not trust that ordinary soldiers could follow him into the next life. Flesh and bone cannot cross into eternity, but clay can. Clay can survive for thousands of years. Clay can be shaped into any form. So he made a plan that no ruler before him had ever imagined. He would create an army that could follow him beyond death. A silent army that would protect him forever. Qin Shi Huang was powerful, but he was also human. He feared what he did not understand. He feared losing control. He feared the unknown after death. The Terracotta Army was his answer to these fears. It was his attempt to build safety and strength where he could not go alone. But a dream that large required more than ideas. It required hands. Thousands and thousands of hands. Workers, artists, farmers, soldiers, and craftsmen would all be needed to bring the emperor's vision to life. Now that you know who the emperor was, it is time to see how this enormous army was made, one clay soldier at a time. The Terracotta Army was not made in a day, or a year, or even a decade. It was the work of thousands of people whose names were never written down, yet whose hands shaped one of the greatest creations in history. They worked in long workshops filled with clay, water, fire, tools, and the constant rhythm of creation. Every soldier began as a handful of earth. From that earth, an entire army slowly rose. Clay was gathered from the land around the emperor's capital. Workers carried it in baskets, mixed it with water, and stomped on it with their feet until it became soft, smooth, and ready to shape. This clay held the memory of mountains, rivers, and ancient earth. It was the perfect material for building something meant to last forever. The body of each soldier was built in pieces. Legs were shaped first, then the torso, then arms, then the head. These pieces were hollow, not solid, so they would not crack when heated. Workers used molds to form some parts, but much of the detail was added by hand. The faces were the most important part. No two soldiers looked alike. Some had wide eyes, some had narrow eyes, some had mustaches, beards, or calm expressions. Some looked older, some younger. This was not an army of copies, it was an army of individuals. The workers studied real soldiers to get the details right. They shaped armor plates, belts, shoes, and hairstyles. They carved lines into the clay to show folds in clothing. They added tiny touches like fingernails, wrinkles, and patterns on the armor. Even the ears were detailed and different on every figure. When you look into the face of a terracotta soldier today, it feels like looking into the face of a real person. After shaping the soldiers, the workers left them to dry. Then they placed each one into large kilns, giant ovens made of earth and brick. The heat hardened the clay and turned the figures strong and durable. But the soldiers were not finished. They were then painted with bright colors: red, blue, green, gold, purple, black, and white. When the paint was fresh, the army looked alive, colorful, and full of energy. Only later, after centuries underground, did the colors fade away. The soldiers were not alone. There were also clay horses, each one standing tall with strong legs and detailed expressions. There were chariots with wheels, reins, and decorations. There were weapons made of bronze, swords, spears, arrows that were sharp and ready to be used, even after thousands of years. The emperor did not want only statues. He wanted an army that looked as real as the one he commanded in life. The scale of the work was enormous. Workshops spread across the land. Workers lived nearby so they could create day and night. Some shaped clay, some carried water, some carved details, some made weapons, some fired the kilns, some painted the armor. Each person played a small part in building something far greater than themselves. They worked for many years, following the emperor's dream, even though they would never see the finished army assembled. When the soldiers were complete, they were placed underground in long pits, arranged in perfect formations. Rows and rows of warriors stood side by side, facing east, the direction of rising light, where danger might come from. The horses and chariots were positioned behind them. Officers and generals stood at the front. Every detail reflected the structure of a real army. Above them, the earth was closed. The world carried on, and the army waited, buried in silence. Now that you know how the army was made, it is time to understand why it was made, and what the emperor believed these silent soldiers would do for him in the world after this one. To understand why the Terracotta Army was created, you must step into the mind of the emperor. Qin Shi Huang did not see life as something that ended. He believed that when a person died, their spirit continued into another world, a world just as real as the one he walked in. And in that world, he believed he would still need protection, strength, and order. He believed that the dangers of life did not disappear after death. They simply changed shape. In ancient China, it was common for people to leave objects with the dead, food, tools, small statues, to help them in the afterlife. If a farmer died, he might be buried with miniature tools. If a noble died, they might be buried with jewelry or carvings. But Qin Shi Huang was not a farmer or a noble. He was the emperor. He ruled millions of people. His life was filled with power, fear, challenges, and constant attempts to remain in control. He believed the afterlife would require just as much strength. So he imagined an army that could follow him into eternity. The terracotta soldiers were not toys or decorations. They were guardians. Each one was positioned carefully, facing outward, ready to protect the emperor from danger. They held weapons. They wore armor. They stood in formation like real soldiers prepared for battle. The emperor believed that in death, just like in life, enemies could come from anywhere. Spirits, rival rulers, or dangers from unknown realms. The army was meant to defend him from fear itself. But the emperor's vision did not stop there. He wanted order and structure in the afterlife. Life on Earth was messy and unpredictable. He had spent years fighting to unite the kingdoms. He wanted his next world to be calm, organized, and full of loyal protectors. The Terracotta Army was his way of building that world before he entered it. They were symbols of his desire for control, symbols of his longing for safety, symbols of his belief that power could stretch beyond death. The army also carried another meaning. In the emperor's eyes, being remembered was the same as living forever. Buildings crumble, people forget. But a massive clay army, hidden beneath the earth, could survive for thousands of years. In that way, his legacy would be protected. His name would be carried forward. His world would not disappear. Ironically, the soldiers did not protect him in the afterlife. They protected his memory in our world. They kept his story alive. They turned a forgotten tomb into one of the greatest discoveries in history. The Terracotta Army was built not only out of clay, but out of fear, belief, ambition, and the human desire to be safe in places we cannot see. But this story does not end with the emperor. It ends with a discovery. A simple moment that changed history forever when silent soldiers finally returned to the sunlight. For more than 2,000 years, the Terracotta Army waited in darkness. The world above changed again and again. Kingdoms rose and fell. New rulers lived their lives. Wars came and ended. Roads were built. Cities grew. Generations passed. Still, the soldiers stood quietly underground, untouched and unseen. They were forgotten by almost everyone, except the earth that held them. Then, in the spring of 1974, something ordinary became extraordinary. A group of farmers in the Shanxi province went out to dig a well. The earth was dry, and they hoped to reach water. Their tools struck the ground again and again, but instead of water, one farmer hit something hard. It did not sound like rock. It did not sound like metal. It had a hollow echo, as if something ancient was hiding beneath the soil. Curious, he dug more, and then it appeared. a clay head. A face with strong features, calm eyes, and a quiet expression covered in dirt, but still perfectly shaped. At first, the farmer did not know what it was. It looked like a statue, but not like any statue he had seen. They continued digging. Soon they found more pieces. A shoulder, a torso, a complete figure. They had uncovered a soldier, and he was not alone. Archaeologists arrived and began digging carefully. What they found changed the world's understanding of ancient China. As the earth was removed, rows and rows of soldiers began to appear. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds, each one standing in perfect formation, as if frozen in time. Their faces were different. Their armor was detailed. Their hands once held real weapons. It was not just a discovery. It was a moment where the past opened its eyes again. As the digging continued, the true size of the army revealed itself. There were not hundreds of soldiers. There were thousands, each one placed with purpose, each one facing east, each one created to protect an emperor who had lived long ago. Beneath the surface, an entire underground world was found. Pits filled with warriors, chariots, horses, and remnants of colors that once made them look alive. Archaeologists realized this was part of a much larger complex. Nearby, sealed deep in the earth, lay the emperor's tomb, still unopened today. Legends describe rivers of mercury, ceilings painted like the night sky, and worlds recreated underground. But no one has entered, because opening it could cause damage to history itself. So it remains quiet, protected by the clay soldiers who stand nearby. The discovery of the Terracotta Army was like finding a message in a bottle from a civilization long gone. It told the world that the Mayans of Central America were not the only ones who built incredible cities, and that the Egyptians were not the only ones who built giant tombs. Humans everywhere have dreamed big, built boldly, and tried to leave something behind. When the soldiers were brought into the light, people from all over the world came to see them. They were amazed at the detail, the craftsmanship, the beauty, and the mystery. They realized they were looking not at statues, but at memories shaped in clay. Each soldier carried the story of a worker who built him, a ruler who imagined him, and a civilization that believed he had a purpose. The Terracotta Army did not protect the emperor in the afterlife. Instead, it protected his story. And when it resurfaced, it protected our connection to a part of history we could have lost forever. Now that the discovery has been made, only one thing remains: to understand what this army means for us today. When you look at the Terracotta Army today, it is easy to forget that each silent figure was shaped by human hands thousands of years ago. They stand in long rows, calm and unmoving, but they carry the echoes of a world that once breathed, worked, dreamed, and feared. They remind us that history is not far away. It is just buried under the surface, waiting for someone to uncover it. The emperor who ordered this army believed he could carry his power into the next world. He believed he could control fate, protect himself, and build eternity with clay soldiers. His dream was enormous, and his fear was just as large. But the story that survived is not the one he expected. His soldiers did not follow him into the afterlife. They followed us into the present. The Terracotta Army teaches us that even the strongest rulers cannot decide how they will be remembered. Qin Shi Huang hoped to shape his legacy with power, but instead he is remembered through the creativity of the workers who shaped clay into life. Their hands, not his commands, carried his story forward. Their quiet craft, not his loud rule, allowed the world to rediscover him. Today, people travel from every corner of the world to stand before these soldiers. They look into the still faces, the carved armor, the frozen expressions, and they feel something familiar. They feel the presence of people who lived long ago. They feel the weight of time. They feel the truth that humans everywhere share the same desire: to be remembered, to feel safe, and to leave something behind. The army stands watch not for the emperor anymore, but for all of us, showing what humans can create, what they can imagine, and how far their stories can travel through time. The Terracotta Army is more than a tomb. It is more than a memory. It is a reminder that even in silence, history continues to speak. And as long as these soldiers stand, the world they guarded will never be forgotten.